All right. See, now look at you. We are back for our panel, another panel this week. And so, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that something very big happened this week. So, back in January, Marvel.com launched the Vote X-Men campaign. There were a list of 10 X characters who you could vote for, and it was going to be announced that at the Hellfire Gala that's coming up in June, one of those characters were going to be announced as the newest member of a brand new X team that Jean and Scott were starting. Now, if you read X of Swords, you'll know that in the big battle for Otherworld, Jean and Scott were kind of like, we miss being heroes. They got everybody, took them to Otherworld, had a big battle, brought him back and said, "This is what we need to be doing. This is what the X-Men are. Like, we can have our war nation, we can do all these things, but we still got to help people." And that's where we're coming from. And so over the last week, Marvel has been releasing these little pages from the gala of the characters who lost. And then we finally got the big announcement on Thursday who won, with Miss Lorna Day, the daughter of Magneto.
Hey, I know
Oh,
that's right. My fave. uh,
how did you feel when she?
okay, so like I I really did not have any idea that she actually would have won this vote. Like
Okay.
when she
She didn't
was
have a lot of campaigns.
no, there weren't a lot of people like, campaigning for her on the internet or whatever. So, or at least on Twitter. But Twitter is a very small space. So I wasn't just going off of that. I was like, okay, well, she's probably not gonna win. Mostly
Right.
because I'm so used to Lorna not getting good stuff. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, that's awesome. She's in this vote. Like, it would be really dope for her to get out of X Factor and actually like doing some stuff. So I was really hoping that she was gonna win, but I didn't think she would have.
Yeah.
But when she did, I was like, well, when that first vote came back, and they were like, that update showing how
She was
many
in the lead.
and she was in the lead, I was like, oh snap! But then it just really made me realize how much of her fan base just lives outside of Twitter and outside of like social media and stuff.
Mm.
I was like, okay, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Maybe she might actually win this thing, and she might actually like be on the X-Men for the first time. Really, she has been around since the 60s,
60s.
basically.
Yeah.
And when she was introduced as like Magneto's daughter, she said she was gonna like be with the X-Men, but right away she just went off with Havoc, and because Havoc didn't want to be a an X-Men member, and
Yeah.
she wanted to be with him. So I know,
It's always for a man.
she a dummy like me. She a dummy like me.
Uh,
So I get it. And she so she was off with him, and then literally right after that, she was, you know, uh, brainwashed and mind controlled, and that's pretty much been the kind of thing she's been with ever since. If she wasn't mind controlled, she was with X Factor, and when she wasn't with X Factor, she was basically like off in limbo. So I've been really excited to see that she's going to be able to have these other interactions with characters
yeah.
who she hasn't before, and actually be
Okay.
an X-Men member.
Okay. And so then outside of Lorna winning, which was revealed on Thursday, on Friday, we got wind of who the actual team is. So in July, Jerry Dugan and Pepe Larraz are going to be launching X-Men #1, and it's going to have the full team again. Jean and Scott are leading it. Polaris has won the vote, so she is also a part of the team. And then we've got the rest of the roster. It consists of Sunfire, Synch, Rogue, and Wolverine. Laura Kinney Wolverine, not Logan Wolverine.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So, what
that's
did you
right.
think about the full like cast?
So I like the entire cast. I had no idea of like who they were gonna fill the roster with, because it seemed as though a lot of the characters who are technically leaving books and going to this book, they weren't really doing anything in the books that they were in. So like
Right.
outside of them, everyone else seemed like their role was kind of like defined.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't really think of anyone else to really join the book. So I was really up for anybody. I thought that there would be a few more like new X-Men on the team. I was
Surge
expecting
definitely deserved.
Surge. That's what I was exactly what I was going to say. I was expecting Surge. Um, I wasn't really expecting Hellion. I was expecting Surge or Mercury, really.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, Surge definitely seems like the one who would have been a good choice. She led her own X team. She's like one of Cyclops' favorites. She's like kind of his little
right.
protege. They have a ton of moments together. She's proven herself. She's got the power. She's got the offense. She's got the defense. She's got super speed. She's electric.
She's a
She
leader.
should have been there.
Yeah,
Maybe that's why Scott was probably threatened.
probably.
She or maybe Jean was threatened actually. One of them was definitely threatened by Surge. And that's why she didn't make the team. I think this team from a marketing standpoint is amazing. I think you have a really good balance of well-known A-listers like Jean, Rogue, Scott. Even Laura, I guess you can make that argument for her as Wolverine. She's very well known. Then you kind of have Synch, who's a Generation X member who has been dead for years, but he just had a really good showing in that most recent X-Men issue where they were fighting the Children of the Ball, and he's a character who a lot of people have been wanting to see come back. You have Polaris in it, who has a lot of history in the X-Men, but like you said, she hasn't interacted with too many of these characters, but she's somebody that people will know. Sunfire is, again, kind of in that same boat. I think this cast is at a space where it feels familiar, but it's still fresh enough that these people don't interact with each other very often, that it feels different and it feels new, and it's something that you can be excited to see. Personally,
Uh-oh.
pers-
This is where we go get into it.
personally, no, the cast is fine. Like, I think all the characters are fine. Would it have been I would have liked one mutant who has like a physical mutation, just because I feel like that would have really just been a nice little touch, especially for this Krakoan era, which is supposed to be all about mutant and embracing yourself and like doing all these things. Toad definitely deserved. He should have been the one. So I would have liked to see that. No, he's Magneto's right hand man. He's got the less strength. He's actually smart. He knows his science and his technology. He's yes, he knows like advanced technology
Mortimer?
and science and he's a mechanic. Get into it. Get into Mortimer Tonby. I think that's how you say his last name.
I think it is.
He's great. He's led his own version of the Brotherhood. Toad definitely deserves. He is that guy. Okay? He deserves.
Y'all gonna have to let me know if y'all agree or disagree with that one.
I also would like the losers of the book. I think it would be good to see them in their own little issues. Of the pages that Marvel was releasing, the one where Lorna was announced as the winner, and then we saw Banshee kind of going to get the rest of the team drinks, and like they were just having a party. I would read all these characters together: Tempo, Sunspot, Cannonball, Boom Boom, Strong Guy, Not Armor, maybe Marrow. I'd read Marrow. No,
Okay, I'm not gonna lie though. You just named off that list of characters, and I'd really only be there for Tempo and Sunspot.
You don't like Banshee?
No.
He's classic. He's classic X-Men.
No.
So Banshee came in second place, and I know a lot of people were actually like really shocked that he was getting so many votes. But what I've come to realize is that a lot of people who were voting for Banshee, they felt as though that was going to be the quickest way to get to Moira.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that. That's a good plot point. That's for sure.
A lot of people who have been seeing Banshee, every time they see Banshee, it's kind of saying, "Oh, is he going to talk about Moira? Are we finally going to start?" Which makes me feel a little bad for Banshee because it's like, y'all don't know what's going on with him. I think he's another one also, even if he had won though, he would be in a similar space to Lorna, where he's been around a lot of these characters before. He knows all these people, he has the relationships, but he's also been dead for so long, so much has changed. So it would have been nice to kind of see his perception and like how he goes about it, especially with Synch. Because Banshee was like in charge of Generation X, wasn't he, with Emma? They oversaw them. They were like the headmasters.
Oh, I didn't read that. I don't like that.
I mean, they're not that great. I'm not. I'll tell you, of all the kid teams, Generation X is definitely like at the bottom for me. I like Monet. Oh, which makes me say, reminds me, I'm very glad Huss was not on this team because there were a lot of rumors going around, some fan theories that she was going to make it, and that is, I don't dislike too many X characters. I'm apathetic to a lot. Um,
Same.
Armor and Huss, I do not like them, and
I like
Domino,
Armor.
I do not.
I like Armor.
Nah, her little Hellfire Gala outfit was cute though. I'll give that to her. Very Donna Troy like. Very Donna Troy of the Amazon. The sparkles, the black, a little bit of armor. She was trying to pay homage. I'll give it to her. She looked good, but I do not need her. No.
Domino. Now Domino
I don't
on my list. Domino, Marrow, Jubilee. The three of them are on my list. I like them.
No, so there's only 6 X characters who I like genuinely like do not enjoy reading about, and it is Husk, Armor, and Domino for the ladies, and then Warren, Beast, and Multiple Man for the guys. Do not care about them. Do not like them. But that's it.
I don't mind.
There's a lot of Multiple
Men. What's Phantom X is one of my characters I do not like reading about with the X-Men.
I like Phantom X.
No, gosh.
He's tough, but he's fun.
Definitely fun. Can't do without that.
But Tempo would have been nice on this team. I am kind of sad that she didn't make it. I think she would have been like a really interesting. It's always just it's an annual vote. So every year, I wonder how they're going to do it. I wonder if they'll put maybe like the second and third place runner-ups, they'll get to be on the list again at the chance to be chosen, or if it'll just be a completely new group of 10 X-Men. That means everyone needs to start campaigning now for who you want to be on the list next year. Guarantee Bedlam Watch has started.
Who?
Bedlam, Jesse Bedlam, Ruckus, Serenity, and Wicked.
One of those ain't even a mutant.
Who?
Did you say Wiccan?
No, Wicked.
Oh, I thought you said Wiccan.
Wiccan too, though. Because if we get Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver back as Magneto's kids and they become mutants again, Wiccan will also become a mutant again. So. We got a year.
We do.
We got a year.
I feel like with these current characters right now that are on the team, I'm excited for a lot of their interactions. Like Synch is like a character I've not had any experience with. I don't really like the Generation X kids or that
he died anyway, so he wasn't.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, see where they go. He jumps on a bomb. I think, or was that in the House of Inversion? But no, I feel he died in an explosion. I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is this the first time he's been back since?
Yes.
Wow.
Like this is like, so when they I don't know if you remember from one of the earlier X-Men issues where they had the data page talking about him being resurrected and how he was having a really hard time adjusting because everybody had like grown up and they had moved on, and he was like, I died when I knew these people when they were like 13.
Yeah.
And now here they are in their 20s and stuff, and they've experienced all these things and gone through all these wars with the X-Men. I have no relation to that whatsoever. But he's also now in a different spot because he was in the vault with Laura and Darwin, and he spent over 1,000 years in there.
Right.
And so of that group, he's the only one who actually remembers anything. So I'm interested to see if they go with the kind of he is an old man in a young man's body type of story for him now. Because he has experienced like this really long, big life. So how are they going to do that? And again, now you're also going to have the dynamic of him and Wolverine because he's in love with her and she don't remember anything about him.
Right. She's going to be looking at him like, why are you staring at me?
Yeah, like legit. Like, what are you looking at? So that'll be interesting. It is also going to be interesting to see how he works with Rogue. I know a lot of people were kind of upset saying they felt as though they were redundant on the team together. I'm one of the people, I personally do not care how many people on the team have the same power.
Okay. You're not one that's like, we need a this or a that, and we got to have a this.
If I have a team of 6 and all 6 are telepaths, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Okay. It's a powerful team.
Because I think for me, it's going to be all about how you use the character. And I think it gives the writers a chance to really flex their creativity because you have to say, yes, all these characters have the same ability. How am I going to use them differently? How am I going to use them in conjunction? I think even during the Uncanny X-Men Disassemble arc, where Jean and Betsy were like using their psychic abilities together. Everybody was so into that, and Jean was like, "Okay, I'm going to boost you so you can do this, or we're going to work together to do this." So it's going to be interesting to see how Rogue and Synch work together, especially because their absorption abilities don't really work the same. Rogue has a bit of a mental capacity with hers because she takes your memories and things like that. Synch gets everybody's powers, but he also can use them better than anybody else. So what's going to happen, like when she touches him or he touches her? Like, I'm interested to see all of that.
And his powers he just gets your powers, right? Like he doesn't gain your memories or anything like that. He just gains your abilities, whoever he's in sync with.
Yeah. And so, but the thing is that he can use them better than the characters. So when he synced with Chamber before, he was using Chamber's powers to fly. And Chamber was like, "How are you doing that?"
Oh, that had to be embarrassing.
So Chamber was like, "Yeah, I can't even do that." So it's going to be really interesting to see how this kind of goes and what they do. It'll also just be interesting to see Jean and Scott interact with different people for a change.
Yeah. And on Rogue's powers, though, doesn't she have like an area of effect kind of thing?
I don't know what's going on with Rogue's powers. Like, don't ask me.
Yeah.
No idea.
I don't know either. You know what?
No,
that's just
it's like and this is the problem I kind of feel with Rogue sometimes is that we keep going back and forth with the situation of like, can she control her abilities versus can she not control her abilities? And then I know, like you said, Kelly Sue kind of gave her this area effect thing where she didn't necessarily have to touch you to take your powers. If you were close enough, she would kind of absorb it. I don't know if that's also still going on, but again, this is also just a greater issue with Excalibur and that characters don't use their powers at all. But even so, I think about Excalibur, and at the beginning, Rogue was talking about she had on the bracelet because she couldn't touch somebody. But that shouldn't be the case anymore. But then she did need it by the end of the arc after Apocalypse did whatever he did with her in that Krakoan gate, and so she had control again. I don't know what's going on with Rogue's power.
And she's flying around still, right? Can she fly?
Does she fly?
Every pose she has, she's always flying. It looks like, so I just assume that she's flying.
I don't know what's going on with Rogue's powers.
Hopefully that's like something that ends up being cleared up and kind of fixed in this X-Men run, maybe through the lens of her versus Synch, where we kind of actually see more definition of what her powers are right now and where they're going to take them. Because I think
Jerry writes a really good Rogue. He wrote it before.
That's very true.
He writes a really good Rogue. So I'm shocked that she got on it. It honestly kind of made me start to just think about the X books as a whole, and if there's going to be a shakeup after the Hellfire Gala. Because there was no, I personally didn't have any type of inclination that Rogue was going to join the team. Even when Jerry posted that picture from Uncanny Avengers and everybody was like, "Oh, Rogue's on the team," I was still like, why would she be on the team?
Me too.
I was genuinely just like, I felt as though he was posting it as kind of a showing of like his goodwill and like the time of when he was writing her in Uncanny Avengers. I didn't think it was anything else, but she made it. So,
and I thought it was also just like it wasn't a cool looking shot, and it was just
like looking over at the vastness.
Yeah.
It's I hope there's a shakeup because I personally do not want to read about Betsy with just Jubilee, Gambit, and Richter.
Oh no, that sounds awful.
Like not at all.
Sorry, that sounds.
Not at all. Like Rogue is actually like sometimes a likable character, and so you get her and Betsy together. Like she's running around screaming after Betsy, so it's just like, okay, she's like doing what she's supposed to be doing. Gambit does nothing. Richter is actually the most annoying character in the book, and Jubilee also does nothing. So they need to go. I'm hoping for cash shakeups all around.
That's probably what's going to happen, with Lorna leaving X Factor. That leaves a space for her, for someone else to kind of be in that book. I also wonder if this is the full lineup.
You think we might have more?
I think there may be. Isn't there always like, a wild card, something?
We get like an extra 2 members or something by the end of the first arc. Yeah, I can.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
If Surge comes through, I'll allow it.
Same, honestly.
But I don't know. It would be. I remember when I read the press release, it did say something in there about how in the issues every member would be getting their own spotlight issue to be
Oh,
like
okay.
the premier mutant of the team. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a fixed series, if it's going to be an ongoing. Are we only going to have like 12 issues? If the vote is annual and we do it every year, are we just going to have 12 issues of X-Men every year with these like specific one-off teams? Are Scott and Gino is going to lead the team? It started a whole new conversation for me. I'm excited
I Do we need Scott and Jean to lead the team every time?
No.
Or like oversee it? Isn't this kind of
So
like their thing?
I
Weren't they
don't
like the
mind.
first X-Men? So it
I
makes sense
don't
for them to.
mind. I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't mind. Technically, Sage was the first X-Men.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
The
Yeah, right.
'06. Let's talk
Right.
about
Right.
that. No, I mean, I get it for this one again. This is direct fallout from X of Swords. Shout out to X of Swords for moving the line forward. Putting it there. Um,
It did something.
you know, it this is what they want to do to kind of be heroes. So I guess yes, I could see them continuing to be in charge for that reason, but at the same time, what will be the end story reason of like switching around the entire team, or will the entire team not be switched around? Will we just lose the person who won the vote?
Could be.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Like, do you expect like Sunfire to stay around, or do you think he's going to say, I'm not with this
Sun,
Krakoa shit no more, and I'm gonna
I was,
leave?
I was about to say Sunfire is strange because he's always been so nationalistic. He's
Hmm.
been such a nationalist, and his loyalty has always been to Japan. And
Right.
so here he is on Krakoa, but he just had that really cool moment with Fabian Cortez over in Sword. So I wonder if that has something to do with it. Obviously, he has a new costume, but Sunfire's also been through a lot. Like he was kidnapped by Apocalypse. He's been a Horseman. He's kind of been like the nicest guy. He's been an Avenger also. Ooh, a lot of X-Men have been Avengers.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's
I
actually why
know
the X-Men Avenger
people
feud
say
is
like
down.
I've always felt like that. I feel like now at this point the whole Avengers versus X-Men thing is like it's beating a dead horse.
It should have been put to bed after AVX. Like
Yeah.
honestly, you kind of get to it because the characters that just have so much history together. There's not really a point anymore where they should not get along.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
it just doesn't really make a lot of sense there. But I don't know. We'll see. I think
With Sunfire on the team, you think he feels a way about Rogue?
I think they.
Granted, he told her to absorb him, but I wonder if there will be any kind of like, or maybe they'll be friends because like he lived in her head for so long.
I was. I think they got over it. I think they dealt with it in Uncanny. I haven't read Uncanny Adventures in a very long time, but I feel like they did something. Even she had a solo series at one point in time, and I feel like something might have happened there with them. But that
Hmm.
solo series also wasn't that great, so
Hmm.
or so I've heard. I didn't read it.
You
Uh,
know, I will say, um, Lorna's new costume,
mhm.
like it. I would love it if it were shorts instead of a skirt.
Okay.
If they made them into like some booty shorts or something instead
Mhm.
of a skirt, I would
Some little
actually
hot pants.
yeah,
Yeah,
her
I'm into that.
little X-Men shorts.
Her new costume is it's cute. How are you excited to see her
Exactly.
interacting with Jean? They're supposed to be like sisters, aren't they?
No. I feel like they have this relationship of being sisters that's been forced on them, but I
Oh.
don't feel as though that they actually are like this like best friend kind of thing. They've never really been around each other. Like they have
Mhm.
just dated
The
brothers.
Summers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
But Lorna, like, that's her ex. That's not even like her boyfriend anymore. So
That is true. That is very
so
true.
but
Okay.
she has no real ties to Jean like that. And I think that like they're similar but different. They
Mhm.
both they both clearly are on the X-Men, meaning they're both are heroes, right? They both have that hero kind of mentality, but I think that they approach things differently. Where Jean approaches things with compassion first and is kind of a martyr. Lorna is Lorna is a lot more about the action and willing to like, you know, buck up and be like one to do something.
Okay.
I may not have liked X Factor, like I dropped it after I think issue 5 or something like that. But there were moments in it where she at least the few times she was on panel, she would at least say like, I can do this. Like I got the power to move out of the way. I could like, let's just do this.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like she's a lot more assertive than
Okay.
Jean.
Are you hopeful that she gets like, or do you want to see her interacting with anyone particular on this team? Do you kind of want to see her, or is just a chance to broaden her horizons and get her out there with even more characters?
Honestly, there isn't anyone particularly that I want her to interact with on this team. I know that her and Laura had some interactions before. She's actually, honestly, again, like she's interacted with, a little bit with everybody, or at least in passing.
I know her. I
Synch.
remember her. I remember her and Rogue were on the team together during like the Milligan era,
Oh yeah,
and I remember that. But I don't necessarily remember them being like close or
right.
anything. Aside
And
from a
even
high
then,
five.
she was still like kind of still with Magneto at that time. Like, I mean, Lorna, not Rogue. And so she wasn't really with the X-Men. I don't know. I feel like there aren't too many that I'm super excited for her to interact with, as much as I'm excited to see her personality like compared to the people around her more versus the things that she's been around in before. So these people are going to be new. So you'll see how Lorna views something in comparison to Jean or Cyclops or Rogue for like the first time. And I'm excited for that.
Okay, I can respect that. That's
Do you feel like, oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Do you feel like there have been conversations before about when you build an Avengers team that you have to have, like, if you have at least 2 to 3 members of the original team, you could fill it with whoever because it'll still feel like the Avengers. Do you think that that is something that's with the X-Men?
Yes.
Like, do you think there are specific members that sort of have to be on the team for it to feel like an X-Men team?
Yes. And that's very strange to say because the X-Men are so big, and especially now again when you have the island. And so this is kind of what I think. Like, I'm gonna be perfectly real and honest about the vote and all of that stuff. I know a lot of people were upset that some of their lesser known faves didn't make it, but like you said, like Twitter is actually very small, and it's a little bit of an echo chamber. And so I don't think, even though those campaigns were amazing and they did, first of all, shout out to Aurora's Wind on Twitter, who was like leading the charge for the Time for Tempo campaign and creating all these like dope posters. Like, I was all about it because again, I voted for Tempo. But when you start to think about like people who read comics as a whole and like a larger group, not everybody is on Twitter. Like, you can go into something like CVR and there will be so many posters who talk about how they do not use Twitter at all and they don't know anything about how it works. And but those are the people who voted for like Banshee and Polaris and Sunfire and stuff like that. And so when you kind of get to it, especially when a lot of these characters have been villains for so long, and X fans kind of sometimes have problems with change, and so even though you're looking at this new era and these characters getting the second chance, a lot of people still look at them as like villains. Again, even there were tons of people who were like, "Oh, we needed a villain on this team." Nobody's a villain anymore. Like, none of the villains are mutants. I mean, some of them, but they're not. You know what I'm saying? And so again, that's why I say this team is very well balanced. A lot of people are saying it's safe, but it's what you would put out. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's familiar. New. It's new. It's familiar, but it's still new. No one, like, Mara was not going to make it, guys. I'm sorry. No shade to Meryl, because I enjoy Meryl sometimes. You know, I really liked her in Spurrier's X-Force. I liked the times where she was on the X-Men beforehand, and she was like making Shadowcat's life a living hell. She threw like a dead rat in her bed. I'm always going to support that. Yeah. But I'm also even me. I talk about Jesse Bedlam all the time. I'm very realistic about Jesse Bedlam standing in the X world, and if he ever gets used, it's going to be by a miracle. That's why my favorite character is Betsy. She's always going to be around. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I said this to somebody else before. I was like, I feel like, especially in the X world, we all have our D through Z list characters that we love or that we like try and champion for, but we also have our real fave, who is one of the big guns. And when you think about who your real fave is, when you think about who your real fave is, those are the people who you think of as the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and if you don't have one of those people on your team, at least you're not going to feel fully like the X-Men. It's going to feel like an X-Force or an X-Factor or some type of Splinter book. No, you want a Jean, a Scott, a Storm, a Betsy, a Rogue, even a Gambit, a Colossus, or a Nightcrawler. Like, you need a Magneto. You need somebody like that on your team to really kind of like drive that. Like, these are the X-Men.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that certain characters have definitely crossed over into that threshold where they have to kind of be on the teams to make it feel like that. And Scott and Jean are there, you know.
For sure.
So I felt like they probably will always kind of be the ones to headline this thing and kind of pick their own team or whatever. I do wonder what this does for the rest of Krakoa. I feel like that's actually the thing that's been missing the most for me from these X books as a whole. You know, they're starting to look a little better now that you know they're starting to look a little better.
We getting there.
But I feel like we're missing like Krakoa, or like learning more about like the life of like the things that are going on in Krakoa. So I hope that we at least start to get a little bit more of that.
It would be nice to get a little bit more character interaction. I do feel like a lot of stuff that we've gotten has kind of been tell, don't show. And they're telling us that these people feel a certain way. And like certain books do it a little bit better than others, where we actually do get a lot of really good character beats and moments and kind of delve into people's feelings about how they're feeling about the island or whatever. But as a whole, there's a lot of missed opportunities, I feel like.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more of Krakoa, and I hope that we see how maybe we'll see it with this X book. Like, we'll see how the X-Men are out there being superheroes. I want to know who they're fighting. It looks like flying monkeys with guns.
I mean,
and velociraptors and stuff or whatever. I'm down. Cool. Giant robots. You know I'm in. Yeah, I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be a really fun era. All new interactions with characters and stuff. So yeah, I think it's going to be great.
It's going to be dope. I'm ready. X-Men. Oh, Wakanda.
I feel like the open is the X, right? Is it?
This is the X. This is Wakanda. This is Wakanda.
Right.
This is the open. X. So Storm does them both.
She shouldn't.
Maybe not anymore. I don't think she's allowed on Wakanda anymore. But
I will say though, it's time for her to just go solo. Like, she deserves a solo book at this point to like drive home more of her own like history and stuff. Now that she has a place on the Quiet Council, she'll always be connected to the X-Men and like the Krakoa or whatever. Now it's time for her to just go off and do her own thing and like let her just go be Storm.
In a solo book.
In a solo, yeah.
Okay.
You don't agree? How much do you think they could do that in an arc or something?
I mean, if you think it's a solo, I mean, yeah, do it. I love Storm, so I'm never going to try and take anything away from her.
You don't think she can have a solo?
She had one before.
Right.
She had a book.
Yeah, I think that she could. At this point, like, what else are they going to do?
I don't know. They keep saying something's coming, though.
That's what I mean.
So I think she left. Well, no, she leaves Marauders in the issue that comes out in May, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. And then we'll know what's happening after that. Gonna find out. tune in.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, that was our panel. We're going to talk about the X-Men real quick. It's always a good time to talk about the mutants.
Always.
Let's go ahead. Let's take another little break.